it was a 2.4 to 2.9. So those who got trapped had the chance to exit, albeit at a loss. January 1998 till about March 1998, there was also a sharp rally of about 60% in just 3 months. This came from 1,450 to 2,325. Notice that this high was lower than the previous low. And then lastly, the last was 144% rally occurring in September 1998, only to be stopped on July 1999. This was a rally of 10 months, and this rally went as high as 2,632. Notice that PSEI 26 was just barely able to go past the 1997 crisis, so it was still lower than the previous peak. After that, from 26 all the way to 1,000, this was then the NASDAQ bubble, which was a 62% decline. So in that 5-year stretch, you could say that people who have been trading the 1997 Asian crisis had a harder time as well. So you notice that traders today in the 2020 COVID, they might say that we are in a worse crisis. Take a look at how bad the other crises were. Okay, so let's see. This was the Asian financial crisis. So for those of you who were not born yet, or you are too young to know about these crises, you never traded yet. Honestly speaking, I myself was not in the market. I was still in school during this time. But this Asian financial crisis gripped Southeast Asia, and it raised fears of a worldwide or a financial contagion. Take note that these declines had seen our Philippine peso, this one I remember this, your 26 peso per dollar had grown or had devalued to 46.50 in early 1998, and it had gone and spiked to 53 pesos in July 2001. This was also happening wherein Thailand baht happened. This also happened when Philippine GDP contracted by 0.6%. This was during the worst part of the crisis. And you can remember that this was the time that there were protests like the EDSA revolution, and the Philippine peso devalued 50 pesos. It would only be able to stop that around 2007 when the Philippine market was already in a bull market, 56 to 40. So the kind of news that you will see during that time is something like this. October 1997, some people were saying the worst is over, stocks jumped. But taking a look at the chart, what was October 1997? It was still somewhere here, and that was not really the worst isn't over, because you would still see that the stocks would jump, but it was just a rally, and then it would fall then again. So you could see some people saying, okay, October 17, bargain hunting supports the Philippine market. Mobile public phones were just starting in 1998. So if you can remember this era, this was the time when telephone was still just starting to be the leading cellular mobile telephone. In fact, during that October, Smart PLDT postponed their IPO offering because of how the stock market was so unstable. There were also very few foreigners investing in the Philippines during this Asian crisis. And some of the owners even were blamed for the collapse of some banks like the Monte de Piedad. As usual, the USA crashing would pull down your Philippine shares, and the stock market, when it crashed, of course, this was really very low. This was at the time, take a look, October 1997, the Philippines crashed to 1.8. It would only bottom at about 1,075 PSEI with hindsight. And then that time, the peso was 34. We knew that, of course, we are now from the future, that the Philippine peso devalued as much as 46 to 50 pesos during that time. So it was a really, really hard time. And people who try to call the bottom would often lose their shirts. Now take a look, while the Philippine stock market was crashing, take note at what happened to some of the stocks. 1997 Asian financial crisis, you could see that PLDT, all the way from 1997 to 1999, when the stock market of PSEI fell down 69%, PLDT stood strong during this crisis, rising 85% from about 600 to about 1,200, or from 700 to 1,300. Eventually, during the NASDAQ bubble, some figured that the PLDT or the internet or all the mobile phone was a crazy thing. So just like the dot-com bubble, 1-2 fell all the way to 200. And PLDT shares only on 2003 staged not just a V-shaped rally, but also an all-time high, going from 200 to as much as 2,200 from 2003 to 2007. That would mark your Philippine bull market. Just so you know, let's take a look again at the Philippine market. This was 1997 to 1999. The index fell, but PLDT was stable. But during this time when the index fell here from 1999 to 2002, that was also the time when 1999 to 2002, PLDT here stopped outperforming and followed the market. It only became an outperformer from 2003 to 2007. Let's take a look. Since this is the Asian financial crisis, let's take a look at financials. Your financials during this 1997 crisis would be Metro Bank. During this time, BDO was not yet listed. Metro Bank suffered a 69% drop in line with the PSEI as much as the Asian financial crisis. So we could say that Metro Bank was following the index downward. And during the NASDAQ bubble, somehow some of the banks were able to recover such that Metro Bank was able to recover a V-shaped move from 14 to 46. So take note that that was 1997, 1998 to 1999. So recall again this chart, 1998 to 1999, in that 140% move of the index, even when the index didn't fully recover, Metro Bank was able to recover and hit all the losses and recover it fully that time. However, if you didn't sell, another drop happened from year 2000 to 2003, negating all those gains, and that was the NASDAQ crisis. And then that V-shaped rally would fall again to 14, like a roller coaster. Take a look at what happened to our food, Jollibee. So this is Jollibee Asian crisis. You had a peak of about 26, it would fall 68% all the way to about 9. And then during the temporary rally, this was your NASDAQ bubble, and then the NASDAQ crisis, the dot-com bubble. After rallying 154%, it would fall again 60%, making this your double bottom here at about 8. It will take about 5 years for this time to recover. This was when emerging market was bottoming. Some of the people were bargain hunting. And then it took 4 years for Jollibee from 9 to 2022 to recover all the crisis. And then after the crisis was recovered, it only took about 3 years for Jollibee to go from 20 to 60. Of course, that would be the market peak again, 2007, because there will be a financial crisis somewhere at year 2008. Now look at Globe. You could see that who would have thought Globe would fall 90% during this time. 1993, Globe traded as high as 1.3, only to fall to 120 because at that point there were still no mobile data subscribers, only to rise again during the NASDAQ bubble. Remember that during this time, Globe was now starting to herald the mobile phone era. And then it was able, as you could see, the difference is that during the 2001 to 2003, Globe was able to get market share away from PLDT. And during the bull market, Globe has ascended all the way to 1.7, only to fall on the market crash of 2008 subprime crisis. So we could say that Globe actually performed very well during this time. Ayala Land, so take note, the Asian crisis also brought down the Great Ayala Land, your property. So from about 15 to 16 pesos, it went 80% down from its peak to trough to about 3 pesos. And it would take about a 10-year V-shaped recovery. This was 1997 Asian financial crisis. And this is your 2007 subprime crisis. So the bull market of 2007 became the 1997 peak. There was not a strong outperformance in properties despite a boom in other sectors. Remember that for Jollibee, it went already from 20 to 60, but for Ayala Land, it only recovered just that 1997 peak only in year 2007. You could say that it was very cyclical for Ayala Land. Now, this is URC. As you could see, URC during the Asian financial crisis fell from about 12 all the way to 2, and then recovered briefly during that NASDAQ move of 8. And then the temporary NASDAQ bubble became a retest. This time, it is a higher low. This was a higher low for URC, a little bit higher, which will become its boom time from 2 all the way to 22. This was another significant outperformance for URC. As you could see, it peaked. It was able to break the peak of 1997, and it was able to break the peak of those 1999 easily. And that's it. This was the Asian financial crisis peak. Okay. Of course, you will have another crisis again for 2008. The key conclusions, as you could see from the charts, if you're just using the Asian crisis, is that every kind of crisis has a different source of problem and a different solution. What we know is that buying will not be enough. Knowing how to sell is important too. Now, if you are in a bear market rally, you should know how to buy and how to sell. We also know that investing in crisis will require sometimes an 80% or a 90% drop to say that the worst is over. Can you recall that the worst is over? Some people were saying that the worst was over at about 2000, seeing that their index went from 3,400 to 2000, only to see their index fall again to 1,000. Now, we're not saying that the stocks have to fall 80%, but this is what historically what we've seen in the Asian crisis. Of course, what we know is that during the Asian crisis, they were not pumping trillions of dollars or printing money. So it took about 10 years for the Asian financial crisis just to get back to normal. But what we do know is that 2020 could last for more than 12 months because, as you can see, during the 1997-1998 crisis, you can't finish a crisis in just a few months. So COVID crisis, we could say it started maybe February 2020. So 12 months would be February 2021 at the very least. So investors would have to learn to do buying and selling and choosing wisely. If you chose wisely, PLDT and Globe emerged strongly during the crisis. In fact, PLDT went up during the 1997 Asian crisis while the index was falling down. And then Jollibee also emerged kind of strong afterwards with URC. And then it took a very long time for companies like banks and properties. And so we could say that just in the Asian financial crisis, there was less hesitance, there was less buyers for properties and banks, which are usually the case during crisis times. Now take a look at the after the Asian crisis, we're gonna take a look at the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis. So this is your Philippine Stock Index. Take note that year 2007 is the peak, and that was index 38. So remember 3839. Remember that subprime crisis took about 12 months. From 39 all the way to 17, it was almost half. So down about 56% from peak to bottom. And so your PSEI would take 3 years due to the unprecedented quantitative easing, i.e. printing money, loose monetary policies. You have a bit of a V-shaped peak to peak from 38 to 38 in about 3 years, from 07 to 010. So it would take 3 years for that recovery. Why would we say this? So let's say your COVID peak is 2020. You might want to ask, okay, so when could we recover? Maybe 3 years, 2023. So at least this is just a guide for you to know how long that this could persist. Now, this is your Philippine Stock Index. What you know is that year 2007, 2008, we peaked at 39. We went down all the way to about 17 or 50%. This was your peak. After reaching that all-time high of 2010, we were not able to go down like in the past. Like that time, we fall again. For 2010 all the way to 2020, we reached Philippine Stock Index from about 38 all the way up to about 9,000. And now 2020 COVID crisis, we're back at that level of 4,038. That was your low. That would coincide with your 2008 peak, 2007 peak. And remember, this was also near the 1997 peak. So the 39 level is actually a very, very important level. This 4,000 level is quite important in many, many crisis times. Okay, so Ayala Land, if you can remember, properties would usually be cyclical. And so 2007, 2008 financial crisis was nothing new. Ayala Land also fell 70%. Of course, Ayala Land recovered fiercely after bottoming out that year 2009. Ayala Land recovered in 3 years all those losses. So from about, after reaching a bottom of 5, it reached as high as 18, back to that 2007 peak. Okay, this is your Ayala Land. Of course, after, this is your 07 peak, 19 pesos. After hitting that 19 pesos, remember, right now, your Ayala Land PSEI 2020 low is about 20 pesos. That is actually coinciding with your 2007, your 13-year high. That was only achieved year 2010. That was your decade. It took about 3 years that time. So this COVID crisis is quite unprecedented, such that we went back down to those 10-year prior highs, which are becoming your 10-year supports or your lows. That 20 peso mark for Ayala Land. Of course, we can also see what happened with SM Prime. So this is your October 2007 SM Prime. That was the height of your crisis. It fell down 50% all the way from 10 to 4.5. At this point in time, it was able to recover easily. In fact, during 2010, when index was just hitting its same price of 3.8, SM Prime was able to go all-time high already during that time, going about from 4.5 to about 13.5, which was already an outperformance. So we can already say that during year 2010, SM Prime was already better than Ayala Land in terms of recovery. So you can learn a lot of things that even in the property sector, some properties would be less cyclical rather than the others. In this case, it was the malls and the offices of SM Prime, which was seen as more recurring rather than Ayala Land's residential sales. And you can see that after SM Prime took over the year 2010 high, there was sort of a consolidation. This is your bullish market correction and a continuation of that rally. SM Prime would peak somewhere to about 40 something year 2020. So if you can see, even when the 2020 COVID crisis happened, the low of SM Prime is 20. The low during year 2007 was around 10 or 11. So this is something that's very, very important. The fact that SM Prime was able to stay higher than 10 or 11 during this time. Okay, this is your Mega World. Mega World is very cyclical. You could see that Mega World even made new lows during the 08-09. This was a breakdown from all those years of 86 cents low, hitting as much as 49 cents on that year 2008 subprime crisis. Year 2010, when the index was at 3.8, Mega World has not been able to break that 2007 high. It will take you about 2013 or about 6 years. So the market recovered in 3 years, but Mega World took longer time. It took about 6 years for Mega World to hit that 4 peso mark. And then it went on to 6. But right now, Mega World is trading at about 270. So we could see that Mega World is quite cyclical and goes down fast. Those are your resistances now. You could see in a bigger chart, this is what happened with your Mega World. From 505, it fell to about 51 cents. That's a 90% drop. And then that 90% drop would become 10 times your money in about from 2009 to about 2014, or about 5 to 6 year time, if you know how to if you really know how to buy the bottoms. So let's assume you didn't get the lows of 50 cents. If you were buying at 1.5, you would still be 300% your money if you were buying somewhere here or here. So as long as you were buying near the lows. Let's take a look at some property names. This is your Philinvest Land. Philinvest Land went from 2.4, 90% down as well, to about 30 cents. Now, just like Mega World, it took about 6 years, 2009 to about 4 or 5 years here at 2013, just to go back to that 2 peso level. So right now, Philinvest is trading at about 90 cents. You're going back here at about your year 2009 lows. And then if we're gonna go to the Asian financial crisis lows, these were your Asian financial crisis lows. Okay, this is your URC. As you could see, URC was able to recover during the 2008 and 2009 crisis better than the rest. From 22, it went to about 5. Easily, at 2010, it broke that 22 already. And so 2010, that was when your PSCI was able to hit that 3.8 level. And then it moved all the way to about 50, or about 1,000% from the lows for those who caught this October 2008 low. Take note that URC was 60% higher at about 7 pesos already during March 2009, when the market, the Philippine Stock Index, was just retesting at 1.8. So you can already see that there was outperformance in URC 6 months ahead of the real bottom. So this was your URC. You could see that a winner is seen very early on in a bottoming out stage. While the market, the index 2009, you could see that URC was already making a higher low here. And it was already a structural growth story, such that year 2010, it was easily breaking all-time highs and going on to that bull market that we now know for URC to be the best in C2, Great Taste, and all the Jack and Jill chips that are selling worldwide, not just in the Philippines. Now, also, we can see that Jollibee, this is your 2008 low. Take note that, so year 2007, 2008, Jollibee, during the subprime, it was able to hit all-time highs, hitting 60. During that subprime crisis correction, Jollibee fell 50%, 47%. So this is an outperformance. It falls less during crisis and rises faster during recoveries. Take note that during year 2010, Jollibee was able to break that 60 pesos, already an all-time high. And so year 2010, when the market was just recovering and trying to make a correction, bullish correction, Jollibee was already making all-time highs. And then all-time highs led higher and higher and higher, such that Jollibee went as high as 320, or about, from those who bought here at about 32, it was 10 times their money. So you could see that food has always outperformed during a financial crisis. This is your Jollibee, 60, 60 went to 30. And you could see that after that recovery, after 2010, it was a very, very strong recovery. So it took about 3 years for the financial crisis to be over. Let's take a look at some banks, just so you have an understanding. BDO went from about, BDO was listed already during that financial crisis, traded at about 60, fell to about 20, or a 70% low. It had rallied 200%, so from 20 to about 60. But after 2010, even after recovering, some stocks like Jollibee were going all-time highs. BDO was just stuck there at 60. It will only take 2013 for BDO to break out and go all the way to about 150, in which case that would be your peak for BDO. Right now, BDO is trading back at about 90 or 100, still higher than your 2010 peaks, you're higher than 2007 peaks. But if we are gonna go lower, these might be retested for a cyclical company. So you could see this was BBO. It was a V-shaped rally, but it took very long time. So 2008 to 2010. So you have this 3 years. It took 3 years for BDO to crawl and recover those losses. So just in case you are wondering if you were stuck in the stock market peaks of COVID 2020, how then could you recover your money back? So let this be a guide. You might need to wait about 3 years, and then it would be stuck for quite a while. So this is also for you to know, how did PLDT go during this 2008 financial crisis? So PLDT during this time was already trading at 3.3. That would be your peak. It fell to 1.8 during that crisis time. When the market recovered 2010, 2013, it would only revisit that 3.3 peak. In fact, that 3.3 is going to be triple retested as your peak. That would be your peak, and then that would be the top, as it will go all the way down to what we know as 800 for year 2020. However, this drop of PLDT was caused by several things that were not COVID. This is your COVID crisis drop, but this drop was related to PLDT losing market share from Globe, and PLDT's SMS being disrupted with your Viber and for people who are using their internet. So it was an earnings related drop. This breakdown was earnings related. So if you will look, you have a very strong resistance here at 1.8. This is a multiple, about a 20-year resistance for PLDT. So this is your PLDT. As you could see, in a crisis, it's kind of neutral. It would fall less, and then it also takes time because this is just stable companies. So it takes time for them to recover. And unlike the banks or whatever, they're just generally stable place to be in. As you could see, during the financial crisis, Globe came out stronger than PLDT. Globe fell 60% like the market did. It even had a retest year 2011 during that time. However, once Globe already proved that all of its capital expenditures was better and it has been growing their market share, it has ascended all the way to 2.6. Right now, Globe is actually able to stay even during COVID time at about above this 1.6 level. That 1.6 level is quite important because that is your 2007 subprime financial crisis peaks. True enough, Globe actually bottomed at about 1.6 and rebounded back to about 2.3 for COVID time. Now, this is something that you might have known or not known. JG Summit during 2007 crisis fell 90% from about 14 all the way to 1.68. So this is a 90% drop. However, unlike properties like Megaworld or Philinvest, which fell 90% during the Asian financial crisis, JGS only took 2 years to recover all of that. In fact, from about 1.68, it rallied all the way to 14.50. That is about 10 times your money, even in 2010. And that was just about 2 years if you got in 2008. So you could say that early on, we already saw that JGS was a very, very strong winner in the crisis. And JGS will go from 1.68 all the way to 26 pesos, or 15 times your money in just 2 years if you got in near the lows. So buying the right company and buying the right price will give you excellent returns also if you know how to hold. This is JG Summit. You can see 1448 all the way down during the crisis drop, what fell as low as 159. In 1 year time, from 159 went to 463. That would be about 200%. In another year time, it will go to 650. And then during 2010, just when PSEI was just back to 3.8, JG Summit will now start their quick ascent from 6 all the way to 28, like a rocket ship here, going all-time highs, just as URC was also breaking out with their hit products that year 2010. So this is Ayala Corp, just so you know. Ayala Corp during that 2008 financial crisis fell 68% in line with the market. Ayala actually rose less than the market despite falling from 440 to 140. It took about 5 years for Ayala Corp just to get back to that 440 level. That's why we are seeing that this 440 level for Ayala Corp is quite important. The recent low of Ayala Corp during the 2020 PSCI 4,000 drop is 360. So you could see that 360 is this one, your 2010 peak. This is your Ayala Corp. As you could see, after falling, it took about more than 5 years for it to break this 450. So about 2013. And then 2020, during COVID, we're back to that level again. Ayala Corp fell to 360, 450 levels again. Look at this, SM succumbing the drop of 60% during the financial crisis. But SM was able to recover faster than Ayala Corp. During 2010, SM was able to go back to 250. And when the market was already recovering, as we said, year 2010, the market already economy recovered from the subprime crisis. That was the time when SM was already doing all-time highs, going to 500, eventually going to about 1.1. So those who invested year 2008 to year 2009 would have seen their SM go from 100 pesos to as high as 1,000 pesos. This is your SM investments, 250 pesos, fell to 100. Those who are quick to recover will see their stocks go all-time highs faster. And that's what we could infer from the financial crisis. So what did you learn from 2008 crisis from those charts? There will always be some sectors that will rally faster and further than others. You could see that SM was faster than Ayala Corp. SM rose further than Ayala Corp. JGS and URC were faster and further. You could see that JGS URC had specific earnings that made them do that. Globe was faster than PLDT during that certain era as well. What you know is that stocks will not rise together individually, nor will they rise at the same magnitude of drops when they fall in a bad market. It is more critical to be selective on what you buy and how certain you are that they will recover, ensuring that you are buying a company that will recover. As we can see, 2008 subprime saw food-related groups, most especially URC, able to rise further owing to faster earnings recovery than other sectors. Even in the property sector, we also saw that SM Prime showed resiliency, as malls were somehow able to better handle the business climate better during the crisis times. Now let's take a look at the 2020 COVID crisis. So this is your 2020 COVID crisis. So far, if you're gonna infer the drop from this, this was February 21, the index was trading at about 7.5. We fell about 7.5 to 4,000. So almost half, 50%, almost 50% drop in just a few months, in a month. So that would have been the quickest bear market, as some would say. So we fell here at 4,060. This is your classic typical bear market rally. As you can remember, during the Asian crisis, 1997 crisis that ended in 1998. So let's say 7.5 will break down. We can see that the first support is your 4,850. You have support here, and then finally 4,000. Now, why is 4,000 very important? As we said, 4,000 is important because this is your year 2007 peak, your year 1997 peak, and so it becomes your year 2020 bottom. Okay, this is your Ayala Corp. As you could see, Ayala Corp fell down from 760 pesos during COVID time, pre-COVID. With COVID outbreak, it went down all the way from 760 to 360. We're seeing resistances here at about 600. Downside risk will remain. Your first sign of support is 16% lower here at about 450 pesos. So these are seeing from charts. Of course, if 450 broke, then it's about 360. Is there value seeing it? Yes, because we're seeing that year 2010, that was a 10-year low for Ayala Corp. And we see that year 2020, even during COVID time, those 10 years are good enough if we can buy at the same price of year 2010 and 2007. These levels are good to buy from 450 to 360 for those who are buying for their long term. Now, SM Investments, as you could see, from 100 pesos went all the way to 1,000 pesos, year 2008 to year 2020. SM Investments has done better than Ayala Corp. But so far, here at 840, 850, we're seeing quite a lot of resistance. Should the market fall back to 48 or lower, downside risk might remain whether SM falls to 717 or 640. Take note that this is significantly higher than the 250 pesos that we have seen during the financial crisis time. Remember this, I'm gonna show to you. So that is 600 pesos. Even at 600 pesos, that's still higher than 2013. So SM was a clear leader, an outperformer in that boom time, okay? So outperformers, so we could see, can we buy it here at the 515 to 640? We shall see. But so far, we're seeing downside risk remain for SM Investments. Now, we were saying that Globe Telecom was very resilient during the financial crisis. You could see that it was able to actually stay above this 1.6. Can you remember Globe 1.6? Globe 1.6 is this one. Okay, Globe 1.6 is this one. Globe 1.6 was here, year 2007, 2008 peak. So again, your 12-year peaks are your 12-year lows for your COVID crisis lows. COVID crisis low was 1,650. So far, we're seeing Globe, one of the best performers. Take a look, Globe was able to break the pre-COVID time. This was the drop here, 1926. This was February 21 during the COVID time. So we are seeing that it was able to recover all those COVID losses and make an all-time high from that COVID point. So we are assessing the Fibonacci. This is your Fibonacci direction statement. We're checking from the COVID. So this was PSEI 7.5, PSEI 4,000. You can see that Globe is an outperformer. And we can see that Globe, and this is something that we are highlighting, Globe, as part of our outperformer picks, G Pump, we call it G Pump, Globe, PLDT, URC, Mrs. G, Pure Gold.
Nikki,
Okay,
may
yes.
question sa chat.
Okay, wait lang let me look at the chat first. Right now, I believe that we are looking at about a drop to 4,850. So from this chart, we could see that if this is your 50% drop, this is the first phase. This is your bear market rally. We could either retest. The first would be here, retesting 4.8. But if we go back to 4,000, that's also possible. The thing is, as I said, 4,000 is quite important. 4,000 is your year 1997 peak. So going back to 13 years and erasing all that 13 years of gains in a single month is quite significant. So I would view any price from 4.8 to 4,000 as an attractive buying opportunity for those who are looking to buy. So I think that we could be going into a support. A pullback is a great thing because we're able to get good values here. Okay, so that's Globe. As part of our outperformer picks, let's look at the telecoms. So as you could see, Asian crisis, we were saying that telecoms did well. Financial crisis, Asian telecoms did well. Are we correct that in a 2020 COVID crisis that telecoms will do well? So far, we're correct. Globe Telecom indeed recovered V-shape and going all-time high. Your first resistance for Globe is here at about 2.3. Your first support is here at about 2.1. Finally, if the market fell, your index fell, we see buyers strongly buying here at about 1.9. So if you're looking to buy a company that you know will become strong during COVID season, this would be your buying support, 2.1 and 1.9. Or you could just buy index names when the index is 4.8. Okay, this is your PLDT. So PLDT not just recovered, but also broke that 1,618. That's important. So we could see that PLDT can go as high as 1.4. So if the index drops, we see that the buyers will bargain hunt PLDT here at about 1,040 to 1,160. So we want you to buy and enter PLDT should the market continue to fall, if it falls. Now, it's also possible that the market will fall, but PLDT can go higher, as we have seen that happen from JGS, URC, PLDT during the past crisis. That's also possible. Take note the index fell 69% during the 1997 Asian crisis, but PLDT was able to go 85% up from 700 pesos to about 1,400 during that time. So we think that this 800 can go back to 1,400 during this time, and any drops would quite be limited here at about 1,000 to 1,160. We don't see it falling back here again. So it's stronger.
Chat, Nikki.
Okay, let me see the question from the chat. In case we reach 4,000, does that mean that we are open to other sectors as well outside G-Pump? In our second liner picks, JFC, Pizza Maxes, etc. So as you could see, okay, so for those who don't know, because we have some live stream customers, G-Pump is a company that we believe in. G meaning Globe, P meaning PLDT, U meaning URC, M meaning Mrs. G, P meaning Pure Gold. So that's our first priority. Like if we were in a basketball court, that's your first 5, G-Pump. Now, we also have Pix Jollibee, Pizza, and Maxis. I will discuss their charts in my slide. But the reason why I said, why I highlighted some names like SM, Ayala Land, Ayala Corp, is that they are tradable if they fall in a certain price. So the reason why I shared it is not because I would want it, but if they fell at a price, then yes, we are going to be price takers at that level. So if the index fell 4.8, and let's assume that Ayala Corp fell 450 or 400 or 360, then yes, we would buy Ayala Corp, or we would want to buy Ayala Corp if the opportunity existed. Now take a look at our G-Pump pick, Mrs. G. So Mrs. G is a supermarket. You can see that during February 21, during COVID time, Mrs. G was trading at 180, fell all the way to 116. We were also able to publish this week that we were saying that Mrs. G, Metro Retail Store Gaisano, even at 148 to 156, was trading at about 4.5 times multiple PE ratio, which was significantly undervalued, and we said that even after a 40-50% run up, we believe that Mrs. G still has a 100% run. So from 150, we think that it should go to near 3 pesos. So we see that Mrs. G target, maybe short-term for technicians, they could see a V-shaped rally to 180, some consolidation. But when the market goes up, we think that Mrs. G will go 222 and 287. And when the market finally recovers, 353. So really, there are some companies that are great bottom fishing items. If the market falls and Mrs. G falls somewhere here at 148 to 156, we urge you to buy. Any drop here at 141, we would urge you to buy. We don't think that you can buy here at this level. Those who got in at these levels are recommended to average up. So I think that this is going to be an outperformer. Just as we saw with JGS and URC during the 2008 financial crisis time. So as you could see, Pure Gold is also a clear leader. Supermarkets are very strong during COVID crisis. When we are staying at home, we're buying a lot of groceries. And we said that at 46, even at that significant rally, we see it going to 58. We actually see that there's still 30% upside. And any drop for Pure Gold back to about 38, let's say the index fell and Pure Gold fell somewhere here, then we would be buyers. We will take the price of 38 and 40 for a 50% upside to about 58. So I think that the reason why supermarkets are so strong during COVID crisis is because they are stable cash flows. For those who do not know, we actually published an article report about Pure Gold and Mrs. G this week. You could go to awesome10x.com/blog. Inside the blog, you could see these articles where we share our opinion why we believe Pure Gold is worth 60 pesos, and why we believe that Mrs. G is worth 3 pesos, and why the fundamentals are not yet priced in. And why we believe the G pump, the PICS, the Globe, PLDT, Pure Gold, Mrs. G, and finally URC, deserve to go higher. Let's take a look at URC. URC is 150 during COVID time. It hasn't fully recovered yet. We see that it will go to 150. And so URC at these levels of 118, should it fall down to 108 or 99, we would view that as an opportunity to buy. Everyone who bought here should just wait. We think that it can go to 150 and 190 owing to the business cycle of URC being a strong staple. And as you can see in the past crisis times, URC has been very strong, showing Asian crisis, financial crisis, subprime crisis, all the kinds of crisis. URC was actually very strong. The fact that we are trading URC at 118, far above 60 pesos, and you can remember 1997 peak of URC was 60 pesos. This is 120. This is almost double your PSEI's return. Investing in URC is better than investing in PSEI. This is a proof to you. Jollibee, we can see that Jollibee also during COVID time, 190 pesos, fell to 90 pesos. As you know, Jollibee has shut down their restaurants and are operating delivery. Of course, when ECQ lockdown ends, maybe Jollibee can operate the stores again. However, you could see that there are really significant headwinds for restaurants. We are not immune. We know that Jollibee and Shakey's and Max's, the restaurant sector, the reason why we couldn't share some charts like Pure Gold and Mrs. G for Asian crisis is because they were not listed during that time. Jollibee was listed during the Asian crisis, and we can see that Jollibee and URC both outperformed significantly. They recovered faster than the market did. So if it takes 3 years for the market to recover, maybe Jollibee can take about 2 years or less time than 3 years. Usually, consumer staples are better and easier to recover rather than cyclical industries. That's what you'll learn. So here, what we'll see is that Jollibee has resistance at 153, 170. Maybe it will take some time to retest. Let's say index falls. Maybe Jollibee can retest the 115 level. But we see that an opportune time to enter. We don't know as well if we can really fall. But that is a probability scenario that if index fell PSEI for 850, we think that it is possible to get Jollibee either at 130 or here at 115 for an overall target of 170 and 190. We think the 250 will take some time, so this might be about 1 to 2 years. So you need to know how to buy and you need to know how to sell. So this is your Shakey's Pizza. Your Shakey's Pizza was trading at about 950. It fell 50% to about 450. So far, the rally was 382. What does this mean? It means that it has recovered only 38%. It hasn't recovered 50%. This was our target of 7 pesos. And we still believe that Shakey's Pizza can eventually go to that 7 peso mark and 760 mark because we see that just as Jollibee was able to have their capex, their capital expenditures was reduced so that they could concentrate on cutting costs and being more efficient. We see that Shakey's Pizza also is the same. And so any price for Shakey's from 572 to 455, if the index fell, would be a great time to accumulate. And your targets would be to sell somewhere at 760 sometime in the future. Okay, so you can still trade. You just need to know where to buy and where to sell. Of
Nikki.
course, teka lang. What about Pepsi, LTG? Pepsi is already gonna be tender offer, so we cannot chart that. When it's tender offer, it means it's gonna be delisted, so you don't want tender offers. Lucia Tan Group is tobacco, and it's a conglomerate. So there's a lot of things that are sold there, and it's not a staple. I mean, I don't need to smoke if I want to live. I just need to eat. As for FB, that's your Pure Foods, agree. Century Tuna is also consumer, but it does not seem to trade as high value. So there's not a lot of value traded. if there's significant trading value, then we will consider them. So I'm looking more at volume as well. Um, Yun. Pero yes, you can consider them. Hindi ko lang siya kino-consider kasi I'm more on the staples. And when I say staples, URC comes to mind. Therefore, URC is in our pick. Century Tuna is actually stable in a staple. It's just that hindi siya liquid. Wala pa ako nakikitang value traded. So mahirap yung buying and selling of the name. As for Maxes, we can see that there's strong support here at 545 to 414. Assuming the market fell, we don't know, sometimes the index will not fall, sometimes the index will fall. But if the index fell, then you can see some support here at 545 all the way to 414. So far, Maxes has recovered faster. You can see that it reached as high as 745, nearing that 61.8%. Meaning that it was able to recover. And what can you say? When a company is able to recover the losses faster, it can become faster in recovery. So Maxes is essentially faster than pizza. And if you can look at this, Jollibee was able to recover 61.8%. So the higher the recovery, the faster the time to become V-shaped and all-time high. So take a look at URC. It recovered as high as 136, 78%. This means that URC was able to recover faster than Jollibee, than Shakey's, than Max's. So it's important for you to know that ready-to-eat food is more important than just delivered food. So I still believe that the restaurants are carnage names. When we say carnage, they're victims for a reason. There's a reason why they should be bought and sold. Versus, let's say, supermarkets. So take note, supermarkets not only just recovered that 36 level for pure gold, it recovered the 1. So it recovered and even made an extension. And now we're seeing that maybe if the market would fall, maybe it just goes back here. Or if the market falls, sometimes maybe pure gold can even outperform, either stay here or go higher.
May question sa chat.
Sige. I just need to finish this sa ano ba tawag doon? So if you can understand, no, if you're looking for mga companies that will recover faster than the market, you have to check which companies were able to recover their losses. The fact that Metro Retail Store Gaisano was able to recover 786 and now about to hit 180, even when the index was falling, tells you a lot. So this is your index. Your index was just 50%, meaning from 7.5 to 4,000, it only recovered half. Only half of those losses were recovered, meaning if it was down 50%, it's still down 25%. So this tells you that the pace of recovery, if it's lower than the market, it means that even if your index goes to 7.5 someday, there will be slower companies and you want to be with the faster horses. So I'm just showing you that Globe, TLDT, that has already shown you that it's a faster horse. Metro Retail Stores is a faster horse. Pure Gold is faster horse. URC is a faster horse. And so knowing that these are faster horses, we would like to buy them rather than not buy them. Diba? So notice, take a look at PNB was able to recover only half. So at 25.60 nahirapan. There will be support at 22. But these are your resistances. It will take some time. If the index will need 3 years, it will take about 3 years for PNB to go 41. So that's something that you should know when you are assessing COVID crisis. Now, this is Metrobank. Take note that Metrobank didn't even recover. It stayed here at about 39, from 33 to 39. So there's significant resistance, significant laggard. The index is already at 47. Metrobank is still a laggard. So any rallies of Metrobank at 44 to 47 would be seen as a strong selling opportunity because it is a laggard. So you could see BDO has gone to 50%, just like the index did. And after hitting that 50% mark, it fell down. If the market would fall, maybe BDO will fall here at 91. And any price, for those who are really bargain hunting, any price here at 75.91 is cheap from a technical sense. So we're talking about technicals here. You could have your fundamental valuations differently. Now, BPI was able to only rally at 382. So you could clearly see that there are companies and these banks are quite bad as a sector. They weren't able to rally at 50%, whereas the PSEI was able to rally at PSEI 50%. So BPI was not able to hit 68, only at about 63.50. So it's weaker. Now you could see some casinos. So this one, Bloomberry, rallied only at 382. So it rallied from 4 to 6 and then subsequently fell down. So for the casinos, since we know that it's quite a victim of a sector, it might retest all the way down to about 4 peso. So we usually see that when a company barely makes 50% retracement, if it's just 382, this is very weak. So just like Metro Bank, just like BPI or BDO or Metro Bank, these, because they weren't able to rally as higher than the market, when the market falls, they are at risk of actually retesting or even new lows. So for now, I would say that the weakest would retest. If this was your support at 4, if you want to enter casinos and bargain hunt, you want to enter them near that support of 4. Okay. Now, PLC, we can see it's also very weak. From 26 cents, it only rallied to 33 cents. So if the market falls, then this could be retested at 26 cents. It didn't rally man lang to 50% recovery here at 40 cents. Now, if you're checking some names that I wasn't able to identify, yung FB, yung LTG, and so forth, you can just use your Fibonacci to see if were they able to rally 50%. Para malaman mo, had they been on pace with the index or not. DMC was able to rally 50% to 440, but then negated. So you could see that massive rejection at 50%. So take note here at PSEI. Let me show to you. So your PSEI 57 has been massively rejected. We're actually saying that we think that if the market went up, my resistance is 6,062. This is what you say, 6144 is resistance. So we see that as a potential peak, even if the market can go higher. So downside risk remain. This is why it's important to be in the right sectors because as you can see, sobrang different ng chart ng pure gold versus the index. Okay.
Nikki, it's 6:30 na.
Hala.
A few questions lang, then maybe let's wrap up. Pero
Sige,
hindi
sige.
natin na-covered yung US, no? So maybe just...
Kibale, we'll cover the US next week. If you guys have specific questions. But this topic, the reason why I focused on crisis is because I know that our viewers are Filipinos, so you might want to know the answers to your questions. And the only way for me to answer this question is through data. So I want you to know what happened to DMCI. So it's 50% recovery. MPI only 50%. Cebu Pacific, very weak. As you could see, 382. So what did I say? If it's 382, my chance to retest. So maybe Cebu Pacific can retest 35 area. So parang if PSEI will get support at 48, your SEB would be at 35 pesos if mangyari man yun. Macro Asia is also in a weak side. So your peak is about 564. If it retests, your support would be at 396. We're taking a look lang some fundamentals, no? So PNB at 24.9, the price to book ratio is 25 cents, 0.25. Metro Bank at 41, it's 0.5. So that means that your book value is 76 pesos. For the banks, you usually want to check their book value. So just so you know, so yan, BDO is trading at about 1.2. The book value is 84. BPI, the book value is at about 60. So yun yung mga kailangan yung malaman. Of course, even if Metro Bank is massively undervalued, it could be that the banks as a sector is weaker during COVID crisis nga. So definitely there are difficulties, but we want you to know lang the PE ratios of some companies in the financials. So PNB is trading at about 3 times price to book. And in the distressed assets, we always see that Mrs. G, Metro Retail Store Gaisano, is a strong winner here. Even when you look on a price earnings ratio, Mrs. G at 155, this was a price that we were purchasing, it was trading at about 4.55 times PE. So it's actually very cheap compared to pure gold, which at 46.50 is also cheap in fairness at 20 times multiple. Why do we say it's cheap? Because pure gold during this time is earning 50% higher. The sales are higher. And it's very resilient. Those who want to study it can read our article. Our article is entitled, "This is why Mrs. G and Pure Gold's fundamentals are not yet priced in, even after a 50% rally." We argued that 155, Mrs. G should be bought, and lo and behold, we were correct. Mrs. G closed 172 in about 3 days after publication. Since supermarkets are standout winners, Pure Gold at 46.50 trades at 20 times. If Pure Gold force 38, we would like to buy more because Pure Gold is a winner in COVID time. Mrs. G, we feel, should trade 100% higher given that 1.5 is 4.5 times PE. So I also noticed that URC's brands, including Jack and Jill, Nissin Cup Noodle, C2, Blend 45, Great Taste. Actually, I have a topic to discuss why URC itself is a great company for you to buy during the crisis. To wrap it up, because we're already hitting near dinner time, I'll see your questions, but you could see that food is a very, very strong outperformer in a bear market. The question, I'm reading this question, somebody was asking, what about RHI? So, okay, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to cover all the stocks in the sector, but the reason why I didn't cover RHI is only because I wanted supermarkets, and RHI is, it has supermarkets, but it also has department store. So, mas gusto ko yung pure supermarket if possible. And then bear market rally, I believe that we will not breach 4,000. If you're, ako personally, if you ask me, I think that if we will retest, it would be above 4,000. So it will be either 4.1, 4.2, or even 4.8. But that's just my opinion. And then also, even if the market fell that low, it's obvious to me that all the analysis points to G-Pump, our picks, to be very, very good. The fact that we said Pure Gold and PLDT, Mrs. G will do well. What happened with our picks? PLDT rose while the index fell. Take note that PLDT went as high as 1,227 today, even when the entire market was bleeding at 5.4. Hindi ko na chart, sorry, yung RRHI. Pero sige, let me go chart it now. Teka lang ha. Since that's your question, let me open it up now.
What are RRHI, Nikki?
RRHI is Robinson's Retail. Oops, sorry. Teka lang. Let's see. Wait lang ha. We're fixing. Actually, I want you to read this article if you can read this. This is a Q&A with Universal Robina's VP in Marketing, Mr. Edwin Totanes. It's actually an article written by Josiah Go. It actually explains to us how JG Summit, kasi studying the crisis, what really happened is, the reason why your money is better off in JGS or URC rather than the index is that there are really strong names, strong companies that are better. In fairness, what we're saying is that the reason why URC and JGS became winners is because they had C2, they had Great Taste, they had also, if you wanted to know why C2 was even C2, C2 meant cool and clean. And they were actually choosing between the brand name Chill or C2. So I think this is an interesting read. You might want to study and read this. It's also good for you. Actually, I wanted, nakikita niyo ba to? I'm sharing the screen. Kita ba?
Hindi.
Ay, hindi. Wait. Sorry. Ulitin ko. Teka lang. Let me share screen. Okay, sorry guys. I wanted to share sana a company, no. What you'll learn in all the crises that we've been discussing is that it's important for you to actually know what you bought. The reason why JG Summit and URC has done so well is that even in 2009, no, you already know that it has a great management. Tapos all their divisions were actually able to recover fast. And look at the why I think that URC will hit 150 pesos, even when it's trading at 118. In fact, if the index fell to 48, I think URC will just be at 100 pesos. Swerte ka na kung makuha mo nga sa 100 eh. So what you'll see and what I see is that there will be divergence. Just as I've been explaining in the USA, no? Even if the market fell, do you think that Amazon will go below 2,000? And if it fell below $2,000, don't you think that you want to buy that name? So my point is that the Jack and Jill mega brand, Nissin, Payless Instant Noodles, Hans tomato-based products, this was domestic, branded consumer foods group. What happened in URC in the last 10 years, for those who don't know, they actually expanded from just the domestics to as much as going to Vietnam, to Indonesia, to ASEAN, basically. So, in fact, the nice thing about JGS as a company is that it kept growing and growing their company. You could study it by going to their annual reports. Maganda to read during crisis time. Kasi may kita mo, how did they handle the Asian financial crisis, the Nasdaq bubble? Syempre, magde-decline yung mga earnings niyan. And sometimes I would read, and I think this was what I was saying. I'm looking at some articles, no? I took a look at this one, no? Q&A with Universal Robina Corporation's Edwin Totantes, the Vice President, on launching and defending new products. The reason why I say this is that COVID crisis will tell you whether it's 2 years, 3 years. Kasi what we learned in the past crisis is that it's important that you have the right company. If you got JG Summit, you had to buy high and actually buy higher. You shouldn't ask me about companies that are actually very weak, because the fact that hindi sila like the ones that are moving like Pure Gold and Mrs. G, hindi sila nagmo-move like unless sabi mo sa akin na gumalaw to ng malaki, papansinin ko to. Pero kung actually si Century Tuna, malakas naman yan. Ang problema ko lang dyan, and COVID good siya actually. Ang problema ko lang kay Century Tuna is wala lang siyang volume. Kung may volume to, babantayan, aralin ko to eh. Tingnan ko nga, sandali lang. Sagutin ko yung mga tanong nyo. CNPF and RRHI. So CNPF recovered fast, no? Ito yung year 2020, V-shape rally. Pansinin natin kung magkaroon ng volume. Wala kasing volume eh. Yun yung problema ko sa Century Tuna. Pero nag-recover fast. So talagang COVID, rin siya, resilient. RRHI, siguro sa 50% recovery lang to, no? Kasi supermarket. So, when you're doing your COVID, ito, February, dyan mo gawin yung high to low. Naka 618 siya. So, from 44, naka-recover siya as high as 64. Tapos 64 IPO binentahan. Hindi, 58 pala yung IPO nito, RHI. So yeah, sa tingin ko, somewhere here, somebody is selling na. If you want to buy, simple lang, wait ka na lang 51 below. So yun. Or baka hindi mag-51, baka mag-55 lang. Pero yan, yung range mo. So it's actually just a range trade for this one. Mag-scenario tayo, just so you all know. We're saying that PSEI can go 4.8, pero pwede rin naman yan nasa 5,000 lang. So the point is, even if the market can fall, you have to know that you have positions that are going to be resilient. I would say that the best way to protect yourself is RARP, resilient at the right price. So bumili ka nga ng Pure Gold, pero kung wala kang presyo dito sa 40, pwede kang malugi. I'm not saying na bababa yan, pwede naman yan dumiretso up, pero we're saying that resilient yung Pure Gold, kaya nga V-shape. Pero hindi naman natin malalaman kung ano yung mangyari bukas. So, even with TEL, no, we're saying that TEL is gonna be resilient. Tama naman yan. maybe it falls again pag nag-market correction, bumaba siya here. The way I see it is whether the bear market rally can retest or go down, that's a question mark. Pero for you to make money, what's important is what is strong here, diba? Okay, so are there more questions? Because if there's no questions, we can have dinner.
These animals lang, not in Mrs. G, no?
Alin? Gaisano? Anong question kay Gaisano?
May last question.
Let me see the question na. Teka. Sandali lang, guys. So, are Gaisano malls not in Mrs. G? Ang pagkakaalala ko, Metro Retail Stores, Mrs. G is 75% supermarket. Tama ba? Supermarket, diba? Well, I'll take a look again at the annual report. Pero to me, if it's primarily supermarket, mas stable siya. So, yun.
Okay.
Recent earnings showed na Mrs. G is what's this? Their sales is 36 billion pesos. So let's say kahit tanggalin mo yung department store, kahit yung supermarket lang, na siya 5 billion peso market cap lang So sobrang mura even from a fundamental sense.
Let's recap na siguro, Nikki. It's almost
Yeah, oo. To recap, I want you guys to focus on yung mga staples. So URC is a pick. I want you to read the financials or take a look at the annual reports. Basahin niyo tong URC. So I want you guys to focus on our picks: GPUMP, GPUMP, Globe, PLDT, URC, Mrs. G, Pure Gold. Studying the past crisis tells you that crisis takes a long time, 2 years, 1 year, 2 years. Actually, I've been reading some of notes of Bill Gates as well. I've been reading, and what I can see is that you can make money on the right sectors talaga. Hindi mo kailangan maging index buyer. Pumili ka, mag-select ka ng tamang company, and you will make some money with it. And you can see naman whether you bought the wrong company or the right company. Well, if you invest during crisis, you will make money. Sometimes bigger money sa tamang company. Like as you can see here, if you bought JJ Summit, so actually studying this told me na, oy, sige, if JJ Summit will fall, then I will take a look at it. Or URC na lang, 'di ba? Kung gusto mo naman kasi pagkain straight